Okay, welcome back. This is my notebook that I made last December, and I'm showing you something that I thought of in May. This is a tab and slot. Taylor, do you remember when I first
Yeah,
drew
I
this?
remember.
Yeah,
I
so
thought it wasn't going to work.
you didn't think it was going to work.
I was second guessing you.
Well,
I liked the idea and I wanted it to work, but I
right,
was I was like, it's not going to work.
right. I showed Taylor this little sketch in the book, but I didn't know if it was going to work either. Honestly, I was kind of thinking in terms of a video, and I started thinking the video would be too boring, but I started playing around this week with this idea, and I drew it in Illustrator. I don't want this to turn into an Illustrator lesson, but drawing in Illustrator or Corel Draw, I drew tabs and then slots. If you'll notice, my original drawing was tabs next to slots. And here I drew all the tabs on one side and all the slots on the other. And the main reason I did that is because I forgot my original sketch in the notebook until I looked it up.
I like when that happens sometimes.
Yeah, so it sat in the notebook. I didn't open the notebook until I filmed it for this.
Which one do you like better?
I like, ultimately, you'll see I iterate a little bit. So I did the cardboard just as a proof of concept. So I went and I made this Illustrator file with the flap, and then I cut this out of, what do you think the thickness of this leather is?
Like
Is it
5 ounce, maybe?
like 5 ounce?
A little
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. I like the body of this particular leather. I had two
Maybe it's
pieces
more.
like it. But here you see me doing the laser cut. This is a 90-watt full spectrum laser. And now those little mushrooms, the little pointy edges on the sides of those caps is what's really going to keep this together. And this is the first one. And I just thought the
Oh,
leather.
that's a nice cut.
Yeah, isn't that so
I
beautiful?
like the way it like lifts up as the
Yeah.
laser passes over.
Now, typically laser cutting isn't great for a light colored leather because you get that burnt edge,
Yeah.
and it actually comes off on your hands and then rubs onto the
Did
leather.
you rinse it or?
No,
did you leave
I
it?
thought about rinsing it because I was thinking of what you would have done. I actually used a brush and I just brushed all the edges, all the dirt
Oh,
off.
that's nice.
Now here, putting it together, this is the first leather sample I made. It's really difficult. There was no easy way to do this. You see, I'm trying to poke it through with the ice pick, but I was marring up the tips of those pieces, pushing them through and trying to pull them into the other side. I think ultimately the solve for this would be to make them like arrow shaped, so you could stick them in and grab the tips
Yeah.
of the arrow
Yeah,
with
I
something.
was thinking that too. I think the sides just look like they're gonna wear a little bit, like those little mushroomy.
Yeah, it's kind of like a zipper. Like if you pull
Yeah.
directly straight on it, it works well, but if you pull it from one end, it'll open up quickly.
Yeah.
So you'll notice a couple of corrections I did from this one. You'll notice how the tabs on the side, there are no flap. The flap doesn't cover the sides. You see there, like where my fingers are going in there. That was the first one I did. Can we get that bone away from Bear?
Yeah.
Yeah. We got bears in the room chewing on a bone during the voiceover.
Go in the other room. Come on.
So you can see I'm stressing the sides a little bit to see how
Sturdy.
how sturdy they'll do. So I got a little insecure, and I go back to the drawing board, literally, and you'll see here these little tabs. I would go through them, grab the pixel, and make it wider.
Okay.
But I should have made them a little bit pointier, because making them wider made them even more difficult to put in, and I didn't make them longer. So having them wider, harder to push through the buttonhole, and not quite easy to grab through the buttonhole made it more difficult. But again, this is now what you're about to see is my second sample right there. That's the original pattern I just cut, and I just did that. So you see how I added the flaps to the top. So right there, I'm zooming in on the flaps, and I made all the mushroom buttons a little bit wider to go through and be a little bit more sturdy. And now,
Yeah.
what is your expert opinion on what the name of this leather is? This is oil tan.
Yeah, maybe like oil or just pull up leather.
What is pull-up leather?
It's like it's had a lot of oil. Ooh. It's got a lot of oil in it, so that when you usually it's like dyed very dark, but then you bend it and it's got
Oh, yeah.
that.
Yep, that's exactly what it does.
It
This,
shows the distress or something.
Yeah.
The lighter color underneath, like it kind of stretches.
yeah, this you can see how it is a little bit stretchy here, and I immediately thought that these were going to be problematic. So I found another piece of veg tan, but I do like this sample actually. It went together a lot easier than I thought because the leather was softer and definitely more pliable. And now I made the top longer and you can see me here. I'm just banging the snap in. But you'll notice from the original sample to this, I kind of surrounded the snap with a little graphic. I didn't like that. It looked a little kind of 70s to me, so I just made it a little bit more timeless by just having like the envelope flap on the top.
I'm confused. What looks 70s?
Like I made the envelope flap on the first one with like a surrounded button. You'll see it in the end. Oh, what I'm showing you here is these button posts. I have long ones. I just take them to the sander and shorten them. If you try and mushroom over a really long one into a thin piece of leather, it'll just kind of like go wonky.
It's like loose.
Gets all mushed around, and so if you wanted to, you could just take them and sand them on a regular sander.
So smart.
There, and so I'm just showing you a smaller one. And there's these little set tools. You don't necessarily need the big machine while you're making samples.
These are especially nice when you're just going into something that's already built too.
Oh, you've been putting a snap
I like
in?
the hands. Yeah, hand setting.
Yeah.
I like it.
So there
It's
it
very
goes.
mobile.
And the I'll call it the envelope flap, but the envelope flap was a little too long, so I put these little pinches in it with hand stitching. I thought I filmed it, but
That's
I didn't.
cute.
Yeah, just to kind of wrap it around. This leather is conducive to that because it tends to want to wrap and ply. Again, just testing that new adjusted slot and tab, and it's working really well. And from this same pattern, I cut another one. And I didn't have to, because of the way that's designed, kind of like package design, that interior flap that gets hidden by the two trap sides doesn't fall out or anything. It actually holds in place nicely. So now here's one out of, again, more of a firmer piece of veg tan. Same pattern. The top's a little bit long. After I put it together, I razor slice the ends a little bit in. That's the sample right here. Just showing that the longer mushrooms, still the same size mushrooms, but this leather's firmer, so this one ultimately was a lot more difficult to put together. So I'm trying all these little pointy tools because my ice pick wasn't sharp enough to grab it and push it through. It was kind of scratching it. So this is one of those Harbor Freight little engine scribers that we bought.
Yeah, I'm looking at you put this together, and I'm just thinking there's so many variations on this concept that could be really interesting to explore. Like,
well, so that takes me to the next one. You see this one I did it, and it's kind of more mechanical. You could see it inside.
it looks really nice.
It
Like,
does look
it's so
pretty, right?
clean. Yeah.
And then it was around this time that I realized I remembered my original drawing because I was obviously I didn't look at my original
So
drawing.
pretty.
You can see it here in the edit, but I remembered my original drawing, and I remembered it was slot tab, so it would kind of grab like the way fingers would grab each other on, when you clasp your fingers.
Yeah, I just
so-
keep looking at it.
oh,
It's so pretty.
There's Junior, get the hell out of there. And so I went back to the drawing board and I drew the interweaving tab and slot, which you'll see here. So I went back to the drawing board, my original reference, and ultimately I thought maybe let me make these tabs and slots much bigger so they become a graphic element in the scene.
Yeah. That's what I kind of was thinking that too.
Yeah.
What would they look like bigger?
And so here they are, bigger. And like I said, I can do a whole lesson on how I drew that, but that's a complicated, boring lesson that doesn't get views. And so now here it is on the laser cutter. This is Retina Engrave, the interface that you use for... This actually is the Muse 48, the laser cutter from Fullsprectum, the 48-inch wide by 3 feet deep. So this leather is much thicker. You could see there. It was kind of burning. Some leather cuts beautifully. It cuts like butter. This cuts a little burny, but it's still cut in one pass, the 90-watt laser.
What cuts well, the oily one?
The veg tan cuts beautifully. This cuts
Well, this is veg tan.
It
It's
is
just black.
It's just black veg tan. Is that
Yeah.
why that cuts so nice? Because you know what doesn't cut nice? I guess is it called chrome tan?
Oh, it doesn't?
Yeah, those stuff I made the black circles for you the other night.
What
the
about... Well, those...
I had to cut them twice. So they cut
That's not chrome tan.
whatever that is then. Whatever that black stuff was.
Because the pull-up leather is chrome tan.
Oh, I didn't realize it. Well, that cut really beautifully because it was thin.
Maybe it's just like the really thick, dense stuff.
Yeah. So this is black veg tan. I just learned that here. I didn't realize what that was.
I mean, that's what I think it is. I'd have to touch it.
But it feels really beautiful. And you see I have these little chunks of, those are going to be the 80% knuckles. I use them to hold down the leather so that when it cuts, it doesn't interfere with the cutting head.
Little weights.
Yeah, to hold it down, because as it cuts, it peels up. You can see what it wants to do. So
Looks good.
yeah, this is very promising, and I shortened the envelope tab a little bit so that it doesn't hang over. And I actually made 2 of these, and in between the first one and the second one, I made the little mushrooms a little bigger. Again, these are so difficult to put in, most likely because I didn't put dart points on them. It's like it's just difficult to. I didn't realize that was in there.
Imagine if your tab had like a tiny little hole in it. So like if you had a hook.
Oh, that's
you
a good
could
idea.
Pull it through.
Right at the very end, so if it pokes in, you can just grab it and yank it in.
Yeah, just kind of use like a little J hook.
Yeah. So this is the one I've actually been using quite a bit. I made 2 of them, and
So pretty.
thank you.
I like the sides are like just the proportion looks really
Yeah.
what's the word? It just kind of has like a more attitude. I don't know.
Yeah, like those little tiny slot and tabs on the smaller bags.
It's still really nice.
They look nice, but they wouldn't work for this. It'd be too dainty.
Yeah, too dainty. I like this. It's kind of got like.
I made this to fit my computer.
Really, really, really beautiful.
And this leather is a little bit thicker than the original veg tan. Here I'm just putting my logo on there.
Oh.
And
That's nice.
oh. So I made 2 of these. I made one for you.
Aw.
Because I knew it came out good and I knew you'd steal it from me.
Yeah, well, now I just need a computer to put in it.
Is that a hint?
What? Just kidding.
So there they are. And
I don't use computers.
So I'm really happy with this one, and I am going to offer up the file for this somehow, some way. I'll offer it up so anybody could try it on their own.
You know what I would do?
What?
I was thinking about this. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I'll interrupt you now. Set up a file that's just like for the thickness of the leather and just the tabs. Like just do like a little vector of the tabs, and then people can apply it. Make the whole thing available, but then also just make like a couple different profiles
Of the tabs. That's a good idea.
of the tabs. Yeah.
Because that's how I built it. I built one set of tabs and moved it around the image. Now, I just wanted to go back. This is iteration over the course of maybe 7 or 8 days. I did the file folders in red paper. Then I made the second one with the short envelope top. Then I made the second one with the longer, and the third one with the longer, and then the fourth and the fifth that I really am happy with. But I couldn't get to that immediately. So it's really important to experiment every time you come up with an idea.
Go to school in the first few.
Exactly. Thank you.
Still trying to learn that. I get upset with my first ones.
Yeah, it's just
all
learning.
the time.
Just learning.